Your lesson number today.
What happened to Ilmi Shafis?
In the morning they said they are coming, but I don't know what happened.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. How's life? How's everybody? You started the program? So I'm waiting for your questions now, please. Okay.
My question is from
He has
Hadith.
become the moderator now, huh? Excellent moderator, yes.
It is from Hadith Muslim Kitab al-Fitan. So it's a long Hadith. I will only read the part I want this meeting. اتبعث الله المسيح ابن مريم فينزل عند المنارة البيضاء شرقية دمشق بين مهرودتين واضعا كفيه على أجنحة ملكين. So I will read the meaning of this part.
Translation?
This question about the hadith from
I know this, but
Muslim.
for the people who also listen in English,
Oh yes.
and they want the full question translated into English before I begin to answer it. Right?
It is. It's a long hadith, but the part he's asking
That's
about
right.
is the part which says that the promised Messiah of the Muslims will arrive, will come down at the white minaret east of Damascus, and he will be putting his two hands on the shoulders of two angels.
That I know Hadith very well, I remember it. I wanted to have it translated for the sake of the audience. Now, what particular question do you raise in relation to this Hadith? What is the query? What is the nature of your question?
The nature of my question is what is meant by Minaret al-Bayda, and that he will put his hands on
Damascus. That's right, yes. Now the point is, was at that time when the prophecy was made, any known Minaret al-Bayda in the east of Damascus or not? This is one question which has to be raised. And if it is a known Minaret al-Bayda, where is it? Which is the one upon which Jesus Christ will descend? So without the identification of Minaret al-Bayda, his identity cannot be ascertained. Which is the Minara? I don't find any. I have made investigations. There is no such Minara as described. So that means he will not descend anywhere. Moreover, there are other traditions reported regarding the same event, which in fact clarify the issue. It is said that that Manara upon which Hazrat Masih would descend will be a stairless Manara with no staircase. So when the ulama would know that the Messiah has descended, they would run for a staircase or a ladder and apply the ladder upon the Manara, then the Messiah would descend, not otherwise. It's a very fantastic scenario. He's coming all the way from the fourth heaven, but stops at the Minara and doesn't descend, doesn't care to take the jump down onto the earth. And look at the angels, they deposit him on the Minara, and he's still as far away from the people as he was in the heavens, in the fourth heaven, because that jump would be fatal for him, and he can't take that jump. It's a strange position of helplessness. All this indicates that people miss the message. The message is different. It is not a material Manara which is mentioned. And it is also significant that he comes, yet he does not reach your homes. You have to make him come to you by helping him descend from the minaret. That happens in case of every prophet of Allah. Whenever a prophet comes from heaven, from Allah, unless people receive him, he does not enter their hearts, their homes, and he remains as far away as if he is still in the heavens. So this ladder means an attitude of acceptance. He would come from God, he will be so close to you, you will begin to see him, yet he will not enter your heart or your soul or your houses if you take him to be a little Messiah until you make some effort to bring him down to yourself. If you don't interpret this hadith like this, then it becomes a meaningless hadith. Because there is no such manara, there is no identity of any manara, and if a manara was made hundreds of years after Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had prophesied, then how could we know that this is the manara which he meant? It was a man-made manara without any divine instruction. So I made inquiries from Damascus as well as from the surrounding areas, and I was told that no such manara existed at the time of Hazrat Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and no such manara is even claimed to have been erected under divine guidance by anyone. So there is no manara, no Messiah. But we believe that this is a symbolic message. First of all, to descend, putting his hands on the shoulders of two angels, and also being clad in two yellow sheets. That is left out by you. In some hadith this is also mentioned. This has to be taken in totality. First of all, if it is a physical descent from space, the angels cannot use their wings, if they are physical wings, material wings, in empty space anyway. It's just meaningless. Unless there is air to push the air with your wings, you can't get the drive from the fluttering motion of your wings. The drive you get is by pushing the air backwards. So in space their wings are meaningless anyway. So that shows that the message is cryptic, the message is metaphorical. If this hadith is true, then this must be understood in depth. According to our interpretation in Jamaat Ahmadiya, as Muslim has also spoken on this, there are some possibilities which will make this hadith understandable. Some possible angles from which we look at this hadith and it will become understandable. Number one, his descent on the shoulders of angels. All prophets from Allah come with the help, with the support of angels. There is no exception. Particularly when we do not find a single hadith which speaks of Hazrat Isa ﷺ's ascent to heaven. There is no such hadith. The descent has to be taken metaphorically and not literally. This must be clearly understood. So angels will bring him. He will not be a creation of his own self, or his own ambitions. Messiah will not be a creation of people who will support him and make him claim to be from God. There are many cases of mutanabbiyin, self-made prophets, self-styled prophets, who always make their claim with the support of some tribes, some group of people, some bands of people who tell them, look here, we are with you, and go and make your claim. Look at the history of mutanabbiyin. There is, without exception, this is true. Everyone who claimed to be a prophet of God after Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah until the time of Hazrat Masih Maud was always supported by a gang. Asad Anasi and Musalma Kazab and others, if you read their history, you will be surprised that it was not that they made the claim and they became unpopular within their tribe. They always made the claim with the support of their tribe. So this is the distinction between a true prophet and a wrong one, a false prophet. So this is the meaning that his support will be heavenly. He will not be supported and propped, any humans. Secondly, when he appears, only if you are ready to accept him, he will come to you, otherwise not. As if he has descended and yet he is so far away. Secondly, this event will take place in the east of Damascus. And in the east of Damascus, if you look at the longitudes and latitudes on the map, you'll be surprised to find that Qadian happens to be exactly in the east of Damascus. So, Sharqiyya Damascus are the words. In the Minaret of Sharqiyya Damascus. So, that gives the location where that Messiah will come. White minaret stands for peace, number one, and second, the force of argument. Any powerful argument shines like a white minaret, and it's seen from far off. And the white color also is a symbol of peace. He will not come brandishing his sword, as people think. He will come with peace, with the message of peace. Moreover, he will be clad in two unsewn sheets of cloth, which will be of saffron color, of yellow color. What is the meaning of that? Hazrat Muslim has mentioned that this color means disease, according to the accepted interpretations of dreams. If you see yellow color, it indicates some disease. So he'll have two diseases from which he will suffer. And one will belong to the upper part of the body, one to the lower part of the body. And strangely, exactly was the case of some physical illnesses of Hazrat Muslim, that he suffered from severe attacks of vertigo. Sometimes it was impossible for him even to lead in the prayer because the head went round, like in circles. And this is called vertigo. When you feel giddy, when you feel like, moving in circles, this happens because of over much mental work. And that is exactly what happened to Hazrat Muslim. He authored more than 100 books in defense of Islam, in support of Islam. Small booklets and big books all included. And there was no support system available for him. He went to do it single-handedly. And now we have so many secretaries and stenographers and typists who help us, yet I know to write a book is not an easy task. And he read all the material which he quoted in his books, which covered all ahadith, all books of the interpretations of the Holy Quran, all that the enemies have written against Islam. The Christians, the Hindus, whatever the name be, he quotes these authorities and defends the cause of Islam, all single-handedly. Sometimes whole night, and many a time, not once or sometimes. He stood awake, writing books in defense of Islam, and this was his style so that the sleep should not overtake him. The sleep should not overwhelm him. This was the fear. So instead of writing in the chair, he had two ink pots placed in two corners of the longish room or gallery, and he had papers there and he had papers there. And walking, he thought. And as he reached the one corner, he dipped his pen and started writing there, and then walked back to the other side. For years he wrote books like this. If he suffered from this vertigo, it's not something to laugh at, it's something to pray for, something to be, I don't say jealous, but it should make people realize that he is a great man who has suffered for the sake of Allah because of all the effort and energy he put into his path and his cause. So if the ulama laugh at him, he used to suffer from this vertigo, and sometimes he had to sit down in the prayer, sometimes he was worried about what had happened to him. This was prophesied. This is the yellow sheet in which he was wrapped in the upper part of the body. And in the lower part, he also suffered from which is called diabetes, which is not sugar, which is not diabetes because of the sugar in blood. This is another type of diabetes. The sugar diabetes is called diabetes mellitus. And I remember this name, but it has just slipped my mind. This diabetes is because of overwork of mind and over much worries, over much mental work. When there is so much pressure of mind, then suddenly the kidneys become overactive. And they begin to produce urine like, there is a factory for making water. And you go and come and go and come, and you said just can't sleep. And this is the physicians know, the doctors know very well. This is caused by over much mental pressures. And I know it personally, because during my works in Pakistan, before I was appointed by God as Khalifatul-Masih, whenever I overworked in my writings and things, or went on tours from place to place, I remember some days, although normally I could retain urine for even 20 hours without any problem, I suddenly broke in. And during my question and answer sessions, it was so embarrassing. Every half an hour I have to go to toilet because I couldn't suppress it. So I know personally, because I have also inherited it from Hazrat Muslim ﷺ, that this disease is not because of your taking licenses with your health, in the case of your health. It is because of over much mental pressures. Sometimes, even in Jalsa Salana, it happened. And so halfway in my speech, I had to excuse myself, I remember. I said, please permit me to go back and then come back. But with prayer and with efforts, with some homeopathic treatment, I have come over this with the grace of Allah. This time, I remained there with you for 5 hours, 6 hours, no problem. But this occasional tendency is still, I know, with me. It hangs like a sword of Damocles. Whenever I'm under over much pressure, it begins to happen. So this is my personal testimony through experience, that it is not a reflection upon his character, it's a compliment to his character, his dedication to the cause. And this prophecy was fulfilled exactly as it was made in case of the Messiah who would come from heaven. So the two angels who supported him were a sign that he was not made by human efforts and human support. It's only divine help. He is deposited on a minaret, white minaret, who's with brilliant arguments, with a message of peace. But he will only descend in such homes where the people invite him and accept his descent with respect. And these physical signs also belong to him, as I have explained. Also the east of Damascus is also physically fulfilled, literally fulfilled. So what else do you inquire? If not, let's turn to the other side. They say, if not this, then the converse has to be true. But let him translate it. Already I have overloaded him. Now, if you must insist on taking the message literally, then there is nothing left for the Ummah except to wait. And wait without any end till the day of resurrection. Because neither there is any such Minaret, nor did Masih ever ascend to any space which can be referred to as fourth heaven. Nor is it possible for a man to ascend to the fourth heaven within the short time which lapsed between Messiah and now. At the maximum time is 2000 years, no more than that. And you know, within 2000 years, how much one can travel in space? Even if one travels sitting on the light, it is the fastest mode of travel. 2000 years is just a small hop in space. It will be within the vicinity of our Earth somewhere here. Because the distances involved in space are up to 20 billion years of the speed of light. So the fourth heaven should be around 10 billion years from now, from here, in the middle, you know. So how could he reach 10 billion years, 10 billion light years, and return from there back to Earth within that period? People do not understand these things. The ulama do not know how God has created the universe. They don't know the secrets of the universe at all. So they try to create contradictions between the word of God and the act of God. It's impossible. It's an insult to God to attribute to him things which one cannot attribute to any human being with any intellect. Yet they dare to attribute these things to God. When I would talk of distances, you know what we mean is, the light travels at 186,000 miles per second. This is the fastest that a thing can move. And the scientists have unanimously proved it mathematically that it is impossible in this known universe to travel beyond this speed. Nothing can. Even matter cannot approach this. The maximum speed the matter can make is 160,000 miles per second. But the light moves faster, fastest in fact. So even if Hazrat Masih ﷺ had started descending not on the angels' shoulders, propping on the angels' shoulders, but on light, he should have started his descent 10 billion years ago. The whole earth was created and the entire life evolved within a mere 4.5 billion years. Light years, I mean. So how could the Messiah descend before the earth was created? Start his journey before the earth was created. Only the mullah's mind can accept this. No man with any iota of common sense can entertain such a thing. So the Muslim Ummah should wake up to the realities. This is the tragedy. Even the educated people take the word of the mullah as the word of God. Well, there's a hell of a difference. If mullah on the side of the hell, God is on the other side. And never the twain shall meet. The point is, if you know the realities created by God, I'm not talking of realities which we attribute to God, the realities which have been accepted by the whole world. The realities of truth, the realities of the phenomenon of creation, the realities of the laws of nature. These are the realities I refer to. Once you know them, it is impossible to accept Mullah's concept of descent of Jesus Christ from fourth heaven back to earth. Even his ascent is only a small hop from here. In 20,000 miles, 20,000 years, in 2,000 years, we can't reach the corners of this, planetary system. Our small planetary system is much, much bigger than for the light to cross to the other end of this planetary system within 22,000 years. It's just a mere nothing. Years are needed. Hundreds of thousands of years are needed to go across the planetary boundaries into the space of stars. And then not 100,000, not 1,000, not 1,000 years. Billions of years are needed for anyone to reach the middle of the space in the universe. These mullahs, they don't know what they're talking. They talk through their nose. And the tragedy is the whole Muslim Ummah accepts this. So no Manara, even if it was made, would ever receive a visitation from heaven by Messiah. Moreover, when the Holy Quran declares it positively that Jesus Christ died here, like an ordinary mortal, like all prophets did. So if he is buried, he should rise from the dead, not descend from the heaven anyway. So all these things are straightforward, positive pieces of evidence that the mullah's concept of what will happen to Islam is completely divorced from the realities, completely divorced from truth. So they sort of keep you duped and doped. Duped in the sense that they deceive you and give you a lullaby. All right, go on sleeping. You don't have to work hard. One day Messiah will descend and do away with all the problems which beset Islam today. And dope in the sense that you give opiate to somebody and he is no longer capable of thinking. He just goes off into a world of fantasy. So they live in a world of fantasy and they deceive the Muslim Ummah. They make false promises to them which God never made. Because God knows how He created the universe. So this hadith either is to be accepted in its metaphorical message, or it has to be rejected as not the word of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallam. Because the word of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallam was the word of wisdom. He could not have said anything contrary to the scheme of God's creation, to the plan of things. And this hadith does not, if taken literally, it does not fit into things. Moreover, it's against the Quranic expressions. When we think of the word nuzul, because it is mentioned in this hadith that yanzilu Isa al-Masih ibn Maryam. So people think yanzilu means he would descend bodily from the heaven. But they don't read the Quran when they insist on this literal meaning, because according to the Holy Quran, The only prophet which is mentioned to have descended from heaven, descended, is Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah. I present this challenge to the whole world of mullahs. Show me this word nuzul in relation to any prophet of God other than Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah. قد أنزل الله أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قد أنزل الله إليكم ذكرا رسولا يتلو عليكم آيات الله مبينات ليخرج الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات من الظلمات إلى النور. God had made Muhammad Rasulullah descend. Anzal Allah. Show me one verse where Allah speaks of any other prophet that He made him descend. See? So here's the Quran. If you insist that Nuzul in Isa means a literal descent, then what will you interpret? How will you interpret this verse of the Quran? How did Rasulullah descend? He was born to a human mother. This is how he descended. Not physically dangling in the midair. So your interpretation is positively wrong. This is against the usage of the Holy Quran. No one will descend because no one ascended. And the ascent is made impossible by the Quran in another verse when it was demanded that Rasulullah ﷺ should ascend to heaven bodily and descend again before the non-believers begin to accept his claim to be from God, accept his claim to be a prophet of Allah. This was a demand, and the answer was simply this: قُلْ هَلْ كُنْتُ إِلَّا بَشَرٌ رَسُولًا. O Prophet of Allah, tell them that you have only made the claim to be a bashar and a rasul. And no bashar has ever ascended to heaven and descended. And no rasul has ever ascended to heaven and descended. So how could I? You are demanding from me things which I have never claimed. I have only claimed to be a mere bashar and rasul. So what about Jesus? If he descends bodily from heaven, how would he accept him? As bashar, the verse Hal kuntu illa bashar rasulullah will stand in the way. No. This is not a bashar anymore. Will you accept him as a rasul? The same verse will stand in the way. Don't accept him as a rasul. The Holy Quran is right, and this man is a false person. He is neither a bashar nor a rasul. So how could that man descend on a white minaret and yet will be accepted by the Muslim Ummah? In what capacity? Show me. Prove it to me. What right will you have after the descent, so-called literal descent of Jesus on the white minaret, to accept him as bashar and rasul? The Holy Quran said no. He is false. If it was right that humans could ascend and prophets also could descend, then Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah could not have given this answer. Or his excuse will be false. So to accept Jesus, you have to reject Muhammad Rasulullah. If you so choose, it's up to you. We will not be a party to this crime. This is the obvious meaning. But if they have decided not to understand, what can we do about it? Now, I think very little time is left. How much is left? 4 minutes. So try your luck for 4 minutes. After that, we'll promise that we'll return to them tomorrow, inshallah, and we'll finish at the right time, right?